As a kid, this was one of my favorite cartoons. Not the original 80s version, but the remake that was made in the early 2000s. So that might make me a He-Man poser because I didn't love the original show, but I really don't care. He-Man was amazing because it created its own mythology that combined magic and science fiction to create a cast of characters that all had their own unique abilities. I love when people clash mythical with futuristic because it makes for an interesting clash of super-powered abilities. And with so much to play around with from both genres, He-Man fans have come up with some pretty insane theories as to what could be going on off script. Hello Most Amazing Top 10 family, I'm your host Jade Arena and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Today we're going to be counting down the top 10 scary He-Man theories. If any of you at home are interested in checking out some more Most Amazing Top 10 content, you should check us out on Instagram and Facebook because there is so much more going on over there. And stick around until the end of this list because I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts, which you guys love so much. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram, and without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have Skeletor is He-Man. That doesn't really make any sense. How could they be the same person and fight at the same time? Well, the theory suggests that there was an original timeline where He-Man was victorious in abolishing evil, and Castle Grayskull now became the headquarters of World Order. But in his victory, He-Man's love for combat didn't stop, so he started down a dark path, consuming and fighting anyone he wished to challenge. He gets obsessed with dark magic and then turns himself into a horrible skeleton monster known as Skeletor and wipes out all life on the planet. Being the only thing left alive, he has time to contemplate his actions, and he comes to terms with the fact that he became a force for evil. Feeling disgusted in himself, he decides that he would go back in time and rewrite history. He uses a time travel spell to send himself back in time to stop himself, but this spell left him with a lot of his powers drained. He needs to get together a band of misfits to try and stop He-Man, but knowing his own people wouldn't turn on him, he had to reinvent himself as a villain to gain the trust of He-Man's enemies, which was actually a pretty easy task because his head is literally a skull. Coming in at number 9, we have He-Man is wannabe Star Wars. At first glance, you might think that they have nothing to do with each other, but when you take a closer look into the whole sci-fi meets magic motif, it's very similar to Star Wars. And when George Lucas was trying to find a company to make toys for Star Wars, he pitched the idea to Mattel, who are the creators of He-Man, but they turned down the deal. This was a huge mistake. Because of this slip up, it's thought that the figureheads at Mattel wanted to make up some ground by coming up with their own toy line that could compete with Star Wars. There's even some pictures of old He-Man toys that look extremely close to Stormtroopers, and that could explain why Luke Skywalker and He-Man both have the same haircut. Do you think Mattel were like, it's in the haircut? The kids love the haircut. Also, do you think Luke Skywalker is part of the reason why the mullet was so popular in the 80s? Coming in at number 8, we have Skeletor made Snake Mountain. Now, the truth behind this is a little shaky. Originally, Skeletor used his magic to create a fortress that could house all of his evil companions. This showed off the immense level of his power, but also that Skeletor is metal at heart because the dude has a skull face. He uses black magic, lives on a mountain shaped like a snake that is surrounded by lava. That is the most metal thing I have ever heard. Now, in the new series of He-Man, the creation of Snake Mountain was changed. It said that it was made by the snake god Serpos. So it depends on what canon you stick to, but either way, Skeletor is insanely metal. Coming in at number 7, we have Skeletor and He-Man are related. Talk about some family issues. Now you can see even more influence of Star Wars on He-Man. For a long time, there was speculation that Skeletor was actually He-Man's uncle. There was a short-lived He-Man comic that touched on the matter, but it was never brought up in the original cartoon. But when the cartoon was brought back into the fray during its run in the early 2000s, the writers decided to take this little tidbit and make it canon. It turns out that He-Man's father and Skeletor once were living under the same roof, and when the crown didn't go to Skeletor, he decided that he would align himself with evildoers to take the kingdom for himself. Now, some people argue that the new cartoon isn't canon, and the only timeline that counts is the sequence from the original show and the comics. Also, why would you fight for the crown? I would be happy being of royal blood with no responsibilities. You get to be rich and lazy. Coming in at number 6, we have the cartoon almost never existed. It might sound surprising, but a lot of famous cartoons actually started out as toys and then moved into the realm of animated entertainment. Transformers is a perfect example of this. It's hard to think about the robots in disguise without mentioning the cartoon. Well, He-Man was never supposed to have a show. The toy was pitched to Toys R Us by Mattel, and the way that Mattel was going to build a backstory for all the characters was through a small comic book they would include with every action figure. Something to inspire kids to read. That's amazing. I'm very into it. But the executives at Toys R Us were convinced that this would bomb. They thought that the demographic that would buy these toys would not be old enough to read, so the people at Mattel told the executives that there was nothing to worry about because there was a TV series in the works. Now, it has never been confirmed, but many people think that this was a lie to get Toys R Us to accept the pitch, and the show was thrown together in a panic afterwards. Coming in at number 5, we have He-Man and his family are racist. Whoa, things are getting real in Eternia now. So, as we have established, King Randor and Skeletor are brothers. Skeletor wanted the throne, but he was denied. Now, there has been some evidence in the show that the reason Randor was chosen for the throne over Skeletor was because Skeletor has blue skin. There are some dark secrets in the He-Man family tree. This racism is part of the reason why Skeletor has so much hatred for King Randor and He-Man, and if this is true, I kind of understand. I would be on his side. I would be super pissed. Coming in at number 4, we have He-Man is not the most powerful. Throughout the show, it seems like nothing can stop He-Man. It doesn't matter how powerful of a force tries to take him down, they will never be able to win. But the cause of this constant failure could be that the villains are going after the wrong target. He-Man isn't born a hero. He gets his powers from his sword and Castle Grayskull. And who controls his power and makes sure that He-Man is able to always protect the people? Well, it's his trusted companion Teela. If it wasn't for Teela, He-Man wouldn't be able to become the undefeatable champion that defends Eternia. So Teela is arguably more important and more powerful, as she could give this power to someone else if she desired. Coming in at number 3, we have He-Man caused body dysmorphia. When people think about how someone can be insecure about their own physical appearance, there isn't usually too much talk about how this affects men. The focus is usually on women, mostly because men aren't as vocal about these types of subjects, but a large percentage of men are unhappy with their physical appearance and would like to be more muscular or physically fit. And some mental health professionals attribute this lack of physical satisfaction in oneself to shows like He-Man and G.I. Joe. Most of the characters in these shows display a man who's extremely bulky and has a bodybuilder physique. They tend to have extremely low body fat percentage, and on top of all this, they still have time to save the world. This sends a message to young minds that in order to be like the heroes that you've grown to love, you have to be a muscle-bound hunk. So little dudes grow up feeling inadequate. That's a bummer, man. But this kind of thing goes on in television all the time, and really the answer to all of this isn't changing what kinds of shows kids are watching, but teaching kids that the feeling of self-worth won't come from big muscles, but will come from finding inner peace and letting go of egotistical goals. But that sounds hard. Maybe I'll just take some drugs that make me buff and go to the gym nonstop. Yeah, that's easier. Coming in at number 2, we have Skeletor is a Satanist. Now, even though there isn't any hard evidence to back this up, like he doesn't carry around the devil's Bible, there are a few things that might hint to his satanic values. And when I say Satanist, I don't mean real life Satanists. Those guys are actually pretty cool. I mean the satanic evil devil worshippers that you see on the news. Starting off, Skeletor is evil. He doesn't even hide this thing at all. He has stated on many occasions that he loves being evil. He also uses a staff that has the skull of a ram on it, and his face is also a skull, which is kind of a dead giveaway. And for the number 1 spot, we have He-Man is stronger than Superman. Please slow down and hear me out before you go blasting off in the comments. I'm not saying that He-Man is physically stronger than Superman or even has better powers. Basically what I'm saying that He-Man could beat Superman in a fight, well, because he has. There was a non-canon run of Superman comics where He-Man and Superman went toe-to-toe. Skeletor took control of Superman's mind using magic, and because Superman is weak against magic, this worked like a charm, pun intended. Now, in this fight, He-Man struck back using, well, more magic. That seems like a pretty smart idea if you ask me. This led to He-Man killing Superman. So yeah, the backbone to this theory is He-Man did what Darkseid, Brainiac, and Lex Luthor could not. He managed to kill the unkillable Kryptonian. That's pretty impressive for a dude with bangs. Alright everyone, that has been our list. Thank you so much for tuning in, and as promised, I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. I pick new pets every day, so if you don't get picked one day, you get a message back another day. If it takes me a little while to get back to, I am very sorry. I have a lot of these to do. Without taking any longer, let's shout out some pets. To kick things off, we have Maisie, who looks like she has the best curls in the game. Then we have Junior, who is showing off his amazing scarf. After that, we have Gordo, who looks like he is living up to his name. That is a big boy. After that, we have 3 bunnies, and I didn't get their names, so I'm going to name them myself. We have Mr. Soup, Pepperoni Daniels, and Bunifer. And to close it out, we have the amazing profile shot of the kitty, June. Alright, that is all we have for you today. As always, guys, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been Shade Arena, and I have the power. I can't do it full blast. That's so embarrassing that I even did it. Bye. Alright. To kick as to what could be going on off script. That makes sense. As to what could be going on off script, yeah. thought that the figureheads at Mattel wanted to gain the